There are three focus modes, and they may be named differently with other camera systems. There's AFS, single focus mode, AFC, continuous focus mode, and M for manual focus mode. So let's break them down even further. AFC, autofocus continuous, is useful when you're photographing, say, moving objects. The camera continuously adjusts the focus as long as the shutter button is held halfway down, allowing you to track and capture subjects in motion. Now, AFS, autofocus single, is good for photographing things that don't move, such as stationary objects and portraits of people who are still, like either they're standing or sitting. It locks the focus on the non-moving object that you want to photograph. You can then focus, recompose, and take the shot. Fantastic, nice and easy. Now, the manual focus setting is when you manually focus the lens on your camera. This might be useful when the camera gets confused as to what you want in focus. It could be that you're photographing, say, through a piece of material and the camera can't quite grab focus on the eyes. So in that case, you have to flick the setting on manual and manually focus your lens. This also might be necessary when your desired point of focus goes beyond the camera's maximum focus area. So we're now talking about focus modes. There's three ways to focus your camera. Now, there's AFS, single focus, where you're basically focusing on a particular part of the subject. In this case, I want to be photographing on camera left eye, her right eye. And it's going to, as I depress my finger halfway on my shutter button, and of course you can program other parts of your camera to do that focus for you. But in my case, I'm going to choose that focus on the eye that's close to the camera. I focus once and I take a picture. Now, if I want to, I can, let's say for example, I want to focus on her. So you can see that I'm basically moving my focus point. We'll cover that in a different area of this particular course, but I'm focusing on that eye. Whilst I've got that half depressed, I can basically move my camera left and right and it maintains the focus. The minute I let go and refocus, it's going to be out. So just know that single point is you focus on the eye, take that shot. If you want a bit of negative space, like you might want her there and do this. Now that's one way of getting there. Another way of getting there is just moving your focus point to where you want it. This is basically this little toggle switch over here. Every camera will be a little bit different. I like to actually bring my focus point and focus accordingly. Now, AFC, it's going to continuously focus on anything that I point to. Okay, it's going to continuously focus. Doesn't matter what's in my vision here. And that can be a problem depending on how you like to use your camera. If you're choosing, let me go back here because we have to talk about AF area mode to a certain extent in this particular part of the conversation. Single point focus is that I'm choosing where the focus should be. If I choose that in conjunction with AFC, then as I move the camera around, it's going to cause me some problems, as you can quite clearly see there. So if I'm using AFC, I almost use that exclusively with an AF area mode, such as Auto Area AF. What that means is that the camera is going to be choosing the focus for me. You can clearly see that that's sticking right on her eye, no matter how far I move it. So now I'm focusing. You can clearly see that box is going green, and it's maintaining. So I don't have to worry about keeping my finger depressed on the shutter. I can simply choose to, at one point, like goes from white, half depress on my shutter, goes to green, and I can basically take my picture. So it makes it really, really easy to do. Where will I actually photograph in manual? Let me show you an example now where actually Sarah's hair is in front of her face, and I actually couldn't grab the focus on her eye, so I had to manually focus on her eye beyond her hair. I very rarely use manual focusing. I find that in situations like this where I can't focus on the eye properly with autofocus. I can't let the camera do the work because it doesn't know where to photograph on. There's not enough contrast. So this is where I first get the exposure right. Okay, so see how the camera is struggling. It just doesn't know where to focus. It's red, that means there's a problem. All right, so now what we're gonna do, flick the focus on manual. You can do that in your camera system usually, or you can do it on your lens. In this case, I now just move it around a little bit. That's it. In this particular case, my lens was too close to her because I went beyond the distance that it can focus on. So right now I can focus, but it's going to focus on the hair. It doesn't really know where to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can just get that. You can see the sliver of the eye there. So let's focus on the hair to show you the difference. So there's the hair in focus, and now focus on the eye. The eye, or maybe just missed it. Let's have a look and see how good my eyes are. Hold on. There it is. There's the eye in focus, and there's the hair in focus. So remember, there'll be times where you need to put it on the manual setting. Now you'll notice me sometimes today during my shoot that I'll manually choose the focus point and where it's positioned in my frame. So if I'm actually photographing Sarah right now, you can see that that red box, that focus point, if I click that middle toggle, that's going to center the actual photograph. That's green, that's in focus. She's stationary, not a problem. If I focus her and I move back and click the camera, it's going to be out of focus. And that takes a while for you to learn, because sometimes you could focus on this beautiful girl and say, oh my God, fantastic. And then you get all trigger happy and start doing this. And then you have all these out of focus photographs. So you have to be stationary. Your subject has to be stationary for AFS to work. Now, let's say, for example, I was doing what we call critical focus. So let's say, for example, I want to focus on the eye that's furthest away, right near your eye. And I feel like that focus point is too large. I am going to go to pinpoint focus. It reduces the size of that focus point. So I can simply focus either there. I can move that right there with some beautiful negative space. And look how sharp the eye is. It gives me more of a chance to lock in that focus. Because if I'm photographing really close to an eye, where do I want the focus to be? On the glass of the eye, in the eye socket, the depth of the iris, the eyelash. The camera will pick something to focus on, but if you want something different, go to pinpoint and select where you want to focus. So there are a couple of things that actually affect focus, and we've discussed shooting on those three modes, so AFS, AFC, and manual. But it has to work in conjunction with AF area modes. So what we're basically doing is we're giving the camera every chance to focus on the subject that's in front of the camera and just giving it a helping hand. Yes, we can put it on auto, and it's actually very, very accurate, but it depends on how much latitude you want to give the camera to have that freedom, or we give it more chance to actually give us success with the camera. So let me show you what that basically means. Okay, so AF area mode, you can see it's at the top of my menu because I use it all the time. Auto area AF simply just chooses the eye, and as I move my camera around, it's crazy. Sports photography with this, a stationary subject like this, it is really easy. Now you can see that I'm actually using the AF area mode in conjunction with single AF. Now what does that mean? The moment I actually press and half depress the shutter and focus, I can move the camera and I can take the shot. But the minute I actually let go, it'll stick on her eyes again. So like I said, if I'm shooting with auto area AF or letting the camera do some of the work, I almost use it exclusively on AFC. So AFC is that it's continuously focusing. It is never locking the focus. There are settings on your camera that you can actually lock that focus in, as well as what I'm doing right now. I think that'll confuse you. We are going to actually go into continuous focus mode that activates all of our options here. Okay, so single point AF. Now, what do all these mean? I might confuse you a little bit. Let me sort of see if I can simplify it for you. Dynamic area AF. You can see that this particular dial, you see that bunch of red dots there. If I center it, it's going to focus bias to that particular area. So if you were photographing, let's say, for example, something like sports or someone hitting a baseball or something like that, and you wanted everything to be centered, you might use something like that. But let's say if you're photographing something like football, and I'm saying American football, as in gridiron, you're going a little bit bigger now. So that particular box just gives you every chance to focus on. Now, obviously, if you go to different areas, it's going to keep up. But this is where, again, a bigger subject matter that's moving, that's consistently centered or in a particular part of the frame might work for you. Let me keep on going. Wide area, small and large. Let me go there. Wide area AF. You see how the red box is independent of where it's focusing? What I'm doing now is I'm basically telling the camera, I want you to be biased within the red box. See how I've moved it and it's gone out of focus? But I say, you know what, camera? Focus right here. Great, we've got it. Now, if we want to, we can make that area larger. You can see that that particular box is right there. I'm just saying to the camera, don't waste your time looking anywhere else. Now you might say, well, why would you need this? Let's say, for example, we're photographing a music festival and there's literally hundreds of people around and I have Sarah in the foreground just going ballistic with the music and everything like that. I'm going to basically center her in the frame and actually give the camera every chance to photograph what's in the center. Be biased to this way is what I'm telling the camera. Let me go even further. Some camera systems, the names will be a little bit different, and I don't want to get too sophisticated here, but it can be really cool depending on what you're photographing. So let's say, for example, wide area AFC1. Do you see the box here, how it's really narrow? Let's say, for example, you were photographing your nephew and they were, let's say, running the 100-meter hurdle race, and they were consistently in one little sliver of the frame. Well, all you simply do is you're going to keep that there and you'll get them in focus the entire time. Remember, that is, of course, if you are on AFC and you choose one of those custom areas. Okay. And again, wide area 2, you can basically change that as well. That's just basic, another custom setting. 3D tracking, most cameras will have this. Now, what does that basically mean? Well, let me show you. 3D tracking is not only tracking a particular subject matter from where you are, but it's actually tracking, let's say, for example, them walking into the camera, running away. It's tracking 3 dimensions, not just one plane of focus. So what I've basically done in my camera, so let's ignore 3D tracking for the moment. Let's just put this on auto area AF. To remind you, the camera is choosing where the focus is. One of my custom function buttons on the back of my camera activates 3D. So watch this. Even though that she's not moving towards the camera, this will just show you what it means. So you see how this is sticking? When I press my back button focus, I've actually programmed one of my custom function buttons, the AF on button on the back of the Nikon camera system specifically, to be activating the 3D tracking whilst I'm in auto area AF mode. So you can see where it says AFC, next to it now it's 3D. So you see how we're right here, 3D, boom, I'm locking in, it's green. My finger is off the shutter speed button. So I can walk away from her. Do you see how she's actually in focus? Do me a favor, walk slowly towards me. Go for it, keep on going, ignore the light. She's in focus the entire time. Go the opposite way. She's in focus the entire time. Keep on going, and move left to right. Keep on going, up and down, and go severe movements now. Keep on going, there we go. She's in focus the entire time, critically right on her face at f1.6. This could be incredible. So for example, one of my favorite shots that I did of my beautiful daughter, Zoe, my golden doodle, running towards the camera at a very shallow depth of field using 3D tracking, focusing at a very shallow depth of field, running towards me, and the hit rate was incredible. Every single shot was in focus, and you can simply look at all of them, pick your favorite one, and you're done. So this particular focus mode can work when someone's walking towards the camera, you're photographing sports, you're photographing car racing, horse racing, anything with a moving subject, or the subject could be stationary. You could be running towards the person, paparazzi style, and, well, I didn't actually press 3D tracking, but check this out. Check that out. Every single photograph, apart from that one, I moved it probably a bit too abruptly, there we go, is in focus. So play with those modes. I want you to look at the kind of photography that you like to do. Pick the focus mode and the area modes that suit your style of photography and your subject matter. And you'll find that you'll consistently use those because your success rate is extremely high.